Not every character introduced into Kevin Feige's MCU sandpit has hit the ground running, but just because they haven't seized their moment yet, does not mean this group of MCU personalities will stay on the sidelines forever. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 background MCU characters more important than you think. Number 10. Io. Back in 2016, the MCU was finally introduced to some of Wakanda's absolute finest, as Prince T'Challa looked to avenge the death of his father, King T'Chaka, in Captain America's Civil War. Whilst obviously giving us our first real glimpse of the mighty Black Panther in action on the big screen, the film also held the honor of showcasing one of Wakanda's famed Dora Milaje bodyguards for the first time too. Io, seen escorting T'Challa throughout Civil War, also exhibits her fierce fighting ability on the battlefield during both Black Panther and Infinity War. Despite being largely relegated to the background when it comes to her MCU screen time, Io in the comics actually goes on to become a vital part of a story which sees her fall in love with fellow Dora Milaje, Aneka. After Io rescues Aneka from a death sentence, the pair go on to form the vigilante team of the Midnight Angels. Apparently, a romance between Okoye and Io almost made it into 2018's Black Panther, but it was cut before the film's eventual release. Perhaps Black Panther 2 will finally give Io a decent share of the spotlight, building on her recent appearance in the Falcon and the Winter Soldier series. Number 9. Cosmo the Space Dog. Many casual Marvel fans likely just let out a pleasant chuckle at the sight of a dog dressed up as an astronaut inside of the Collector's Collection in Guardians of the Galaxy. However, those in the know were well aware that this was far more than just a throwaway gag/dog. The canine in question is actually none other than Cosmo the Space Dog, a test subject for the USSR space program who was ultimately shot off into space to orbit Earth, only to drift off and end up in nowhere later down the line. Cosmo is not just your run-of-the-mill stranded mutt though. This dog actually ended up being mutated by cosmic rays during his travels, meaning he now possesses telepathy and telekinesis abilities. He also barely ages, still going strong despite first going missing in the 1960s. What a lucky boy. Could we see Cosmo finally come into play in a big way by the time Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 rolls around? One would bloody well hope so. Number 8. Brandt. Now here's the thing, this character may be long gone from the land of the living in the current MCU timeline, but her death may have just opened the door for something truly game-changing. In the MCU, Brandt was last seen attempting to get the better of Tony Stark in Iron Man 3. However, the extremist-wielding foe of Iron Man soon met her end on the back of a makeshift microwave explosion. Yet this emphatic end for Brandt may have actually set the stage for another rather well-known Marvel character to make their long-awaited debut in the MCU. Brandt was once married to Theodore Salis at a young age. Salis, as many will know, would go on to become the Man-Thing, a humanoid swamp monster born out of a failed attempt to recreate the super soldier serum. Ha, boy have we heard that before. It's not too far outside of the realms of possibility to imagine that Salis and Brandt could have been romantically involved before her demise in the MCU. And upon hearing about her passing at the hands of an Avenger, perhaps the Man-Thing will be on the lookout for revenge against Earth's mightiest heroes. Number 7. Anne-Marie Hogue. In the opening sequence of Marvel's Spider-Man Homecoming, we witness Adrian Toomes and his crew attempting to clean up the mess that Tony Stark and his fellow Avengers had made during the events of the 2012 ensemble masterpiece. However, before they're able to do their job and get paid, a team of qualified personnel arrive on the scene to take over the operation. As is revealed before long, the group go by the name of the Department of Damage Control and are under the leadership of director Anne-Marie Hogue. Far from being a meaningless face for this Tony Stark partner group though, Hogue actually runs a similar unit in the comics under the name of Damage Control Inc. Throughout her history on the page, Hogue has been known to be a good pal of Nick Fury, and under her watch, the team have become the unsung heroes of the Marvel Universe, regularly cleaning up after various catastrophic battles in New York City. Expect to see them show up again later down the line should crap hit the fan in the MCU's NYC again going forward. Number 6. Daniel Drumm. After London's secret sanctum is destroyed by the despicable Caecilius in Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange witnesses the protector of the New York secret sanctum, Daniel Drumm, be cut down by the evil master of the mystic arts. Though he would sadly give the ultimate sacrifice in ensuring the sanctum didn't fall, his brief appearance in the MCU may have just set the stage for his more widely known sibling to enter the fray. Jericho Drumm is an incredibly powerful individual, blessed with superhuman strength, the ability to manipulate fire, and also regularly summons his brother Daniel back from the dead to give him an additional burst of strength. He also goes on to hold the mantle of Sorcerer Supreme in the comics too, so it looks like Daniel's death in Doctor Strange was for good reason after all, and we may not have seen the last of him in the MCU if his badass brother has anything to say about it. Number 5. Egghead. The key antagonist in Avengers Infinity War palette cleanser Ant-Man and the Wasp came in the form of Ava Starr, also known as Ghost. It's revealed during the course of the feature that Ghost attained her unwanted ability to pass through objects on the back of her father's quantum experiment going terribly wrong when she was younger. Her pops and mother also died during the accident, a moment that is highlighted in a devastating flashback sequence. It's during said recap that we come to see Ava's father, Elias Starr, in all his bald-headed glory for the first time. Those familiar with Elias's work in the comic book Marvel world will likely know him better as Egghead, a villain who has regularly butted heads with the Avengers and Hank Pym. Again, with Elias seemingly being cut down long before he ever truly embraced his inner Egghead on the MCU stage, the chances of him going on to become as formidable a foe to Pym and co as he was on the page seem ironically small. Oh god. Number 4. James Falsworth. Back when Captain America first burst onto the scene during World War II, the MCU introduced us to a gang of soldiers who would go on to form the Howling Commandos, a unit designed to rid Germany of Hydra. One of the most significant members of this band of valiant men was British officer James Montgomery Falsworth. However, despite managing to survive the events of the first Avenger, Steve Rogers was later informed upon waking from his near 70-year slumber that Falsworth was no longer with us. This development likely came as a bit of an unpleasant shock to some fans, who were hoping to see the character again someday under his much more recognizable Union Jack moniker, as seen clashing with Baron Blood in the comics. If the MCU has taught us one thing, however, it's that we should never say never. Number 3. Dum Dum Dugan. Much like James Falsworth, Dum Dum Dugan made his first MCU appearance as part of Captain America's Howling Commandos in 2011's The First Avenger. In the wake of Cap's apparent death in said feature, Dugan actually went on to lead the unit in his place, and even showed up in the likes of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Agent Carter to aid the likes of Peggy Carter and Howard Stark. Though he still plays an admirable part in the stories of some of Marvel's most respected characters, there's an argument to be made that we're still to see Dugan really be utilized in the way he so brilliantly was in the comics. There, he goes on to become a high-level S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, a vital ally to Nick Fury, and even become second in command for a spell. He's also ever present in some of Marvel's most iconic runs, such as Nick Fury vs. S.H.I.E.L.D., Civil War, and Secret Invasion. The little snippets of dumb goodness we've had so far were still a joy to behold, but I'm still holding out hope that Neil McDonough's turn as the highly skilled and equally witty soldier gets a little more screen time further down the road. Number 2. Senor Scratchy. In a TV series jam-packed with significance left, right, and center, you'd be forgiven for completely overlooking the appearance of a pet bunny rabbit by the name of Senor Scratchy. However, the name of Agatha Harkness's animal ally of choice in WandaVision may in fact be a subtle clue as to who could actually be trapped inside of the furry critter in question. In the comics, Harkness is known to have somewhat of a complex relationship with her son, a powerful wizard by the name of Nicholas Scratch. In fact, the witch has notably joined forces with the Fantastic Four and took down her own flesh and blood in the past. Judging from how attached the witch is to the bunny throughout the show, it's not too much of a stretch to suggest that she may have transformed her son into the animal, as punishment for crossing her at a time before we meet the pair in the MCU series. If so, perhaps Nicholas will now be free to rear his head in the MCU in the wake of his mother's defeat at the hands of the Scarlet Witch. Number 1. The Tinkerer. Though the villainous show was largely stolen by Michael Keaton's terrific portrayal of the Vulture/Adrian Toomes during the MCU's first solo Spider-Man entry, a number of other key Spidey antagonists were subtly laced into Homecoming too. Away from the likes of Shocker and the Prowler making their MCU debuts though, arguably the most important of these new side lawbreakers doesn't actually see much of the action in the film, but could play a vital part in the lives of whichever villains look to take down Spidey in the coming years. We're talking of course about the person responsible for creating the powerful weapons used by Toomes and his team, all from salvaged alien tech picked up over the course of the MCU's existence. The Tinkerer himself, Phineas Mason, with Mason quickly going into hiding in the wake of Toomes being turfed off to jail in Homecoming. There's every chance we will see him pop up again in a future Spidey flick, maybe even equipping the likes of Kingpin and Black Cat as he did so in the comics. Because if the upcoming MCU Spider-Man 3 film needed one thing, it was more side characters. Heh. And that's our list. Know of any other background MCU characters more important than people think? Let us know all about them in the comments section right down below, and do not forget to like, share, and click on that subscribe button. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and find some more incredible articles just like the one this video right here is based on. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you very much for watching, and I'm sure I'll see you very, 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 very soon.